Okay, hi guys. So we're back testing the video cards on the Core2Quad. So this is the first Radeon video card that I'm testing. So this is a R7 450, 4GB DDR5. It's kind of like the little brother to the RX 550. And what else? Supposedly this video card is similar to an old school HD 7770, I believe. Yeah, I think it's a 77, or it's a, I think it's HD 7750 or 7770. Look it up. And this is a bus power video card, but it runs. This one runs kind of hot. So if you use this kind of card, make sure you go into Afterburner. And make sure you turn the fan curve on. Let me show you. I guess maybe I should show you that really quick. So let me see. You go here, and pull up Afterburner, right? And then you go to Settings and Afterburner, and make sure you go to the second tab where it says Fan, and you turn it on by saying where it says Enabled, and you hit Apply, right? Right, so this is what you're going to see. So you go to fan, you click on enable the fan curve, and you hit apply. Actually, pretty much when you're using Radeon cards, the fan curve on Radeon cards is, I believe it's like set too low, the default. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing to get used to. Anytime you're using a Radeon card in your system, turn the fan curve on, because I noticed that the default fan curve by the driver or the firmware on the video card is almost always way too low. So do yourself a favor, do me a favor, make sure you go to fan and you enable it, okay? Then you hit OK, and let's go back into the game. Okay, so yeah, this video card gets kind of hot. It gets into the 70s, but I guess it should still be okay, because I think this video card doesn't run at 100%. So we'll see. Let's see. So this is the same place as usual. We are on the west coast, northern part of the map. West Coast, and we're going to run down the West Coast southbound and into the city, and we'll see how this one performs. So let's see, normally you can get this video card, bus power video card, on used on eBay for, just to give you an idea, this is it costs like $35 plus or minus. Or if you want to spend a little bit money, if you have a little bit more money, I suggest spend like $10 or $15 more. You can get the RX 550 4GB. So, and that one's that one runs a little bit faster, and it consumes a little bit less in watts, and it runs cooler as well. So everything's a little bit better on the RX 550. So spend a little bit more money. It's usually about $15 more, and it's also bus powered, but it's going to consume less watts. It's going to run. It's not going to run as hot. So I'll give you an example right now. Yeah, the AC watt meter, we got 166 watts. Let me double check. Yeah, 167 watts. So this card definitely runs a little bit. Yeah, this card definitely runs a little bit hotter than any of the NVIDIA cards that we were testing. Alright, let's see. We are running at 1080p low, if you're wondering. 1080p low is the graphics settings. And that's interesting. On this video card, we sometimes go all the way up to 99% for a few seconds. What else can we see? frames per second in the 50s. The millisecond graph is a little bit more. It's definitely not as good as the NVIDIA cards we were testing. Sometimes it seems okay though. Yeah, on NVIDIA card it was pretty consistent that it was 16 milliseconds, and here it's a little bit more worse. You know. So, well, this is an old driver, true. You know, this driver isn't really updated. This is the official AMD driver. Actually, I got this from the Dell website. So I don't know how many years old this driver is, but it really shouldn't matter because this is a GTAV has been around forever. But the other thing is, who knows? Maybe you know this. The driver is really from the 7750, so that's been out since like 2016. I think the last update for those older video cards is 2016, so it's possible this driver isn't any newer, you know. So keep that in mind. That's why probably it's not as smooth, but it's still playable. I mean, you know. Right now the millisecond graph's okay. Look at that. It's holding at 16 frames per second, so 16 milliseconds. 60 frames, 16 milliseconds. So it's almost there with the NVIDIA card. You know, it's a little bit rough, but I mean, it's hardly noticeable. And let me see. Probably should check the power supply for you. Let's see. Yep. Yeah, it looks like it's stable. 167 watts on the power supply AC meter. So let's see, 167. So for OEM power supply, I imagine, you know, at least 180 watts, you know. So yeah, so this definitely consumes a little bit more electricity than any of the NVIDIA cards we were testing. Yeah, see the millisecond graphs is running a little bit worse than NVIDIA, but I can't, you know, I don't think you can really see any stuttering though. So, and let's see, this card, okay, right now memory wise, let's see. Yeah, so the video card is holding, looks like at 73 degrees, so yeah, just make sure you use that fan curve like I told you in MSI Afterburner. Make sure you have that on because otherwise you're going to start to cook the card. It's going to definitely go over 80 degrees. You know. And you know, obviously make sure your case got some case fans in there, right? You know, because the cooler on this bus power card, you know, it's got this tiny little fan, so that doesn't help either, you know. And what else? Oh yeah, on Radeon cards, make sure you have a DisplayPort cable, and make sure the video card has a DisplayPort outlet, because sometimes on some of the new monitors or TVs, the HDMI plug is not compatible. So you'll get a black screen. So like for example on this monitor, it's a fairly new Samsung monitor. So just for fun, I try to plug in the HDMI cable, you know, HDMI video card to HDMI monitor, and I only got a black screen. You know, you couldn't see the BIOS, and even when it booted into Windows, you still couldn't see anything. So, but yeah, as soon as I use the DisplayPort cable, this particular video card has both. But not you have to be careful that not all Radeon cards have DisplayPort. So, you know, just to be safe, stay away from any video card that you have to use HDMI, because then you're going to be stuck, because then you can only use an old monitor with it. So like for example, on this particular video card, I'm sure I can get an HDMI display, but I have to use an older HDMI monitor or older HDMI TV, and then I should be able to see the screen. But like on these brand new Samsungs, it's using a different type of HDMI standard, and so it doesn't work with the older HDMI video card, at least from Radeon. I think most of the time on the EVGA standard is different, and that usually works. So keep that in mind. If you got some Radeon cards, make sure you have DisplayPort on the video card, and you got a DisplayPort monitor. Whoa. Alright, so it looks like the video card is stabilized at 70 degrees, 62% GPU usage, 70% GPU usage. Memory, we're at 2750. So even with this old slow video card, it's still going over 2000 on the VRAM, which is interesting. So yeah, I guess it does make a difference, because some of these older Radeons, there's like a 2 gig version and 4 gig version. Like I said, like for example, the RX 550, you can the RX 550 comes in 2 gigabit and 4 gigabit. So yeah, spend a couple dollars more and get the 4 gigabyte version, because this is a perfect example of a game that it does. It can use more than 2 gigabytes of VRAM. And remember, we're at 1080p low, so I assume if we have, now that we have 4 gigabits of RAM, you can take advantage and use 1080p medium, right? But you know, I figure, you know, we just, you know, just to test, I'll just make it easy. I'll just test 1080p low, and you can see like a worst case scenario. So it's kind of funny, yeah. Even at 1080p low, it wants to use more than like 2790, right? But yeah, if you've got a 1 gigabyte video card, I assume that what you'll probably have to do is 1080p low at most, or bump it down. Try the different graphic settings below 1080, like 1680, 1650, 1440, 1360, 1280, something like that. Just keep going down the resolution menu, and you know, and then test it with MSI Afterburner and see if, you know, what you want is to make sure you're low enough that you're not experiencing any stutter. So yeah, we're going up the skyway, so yeah, I think we can almost done here. Yeah, so yeah, even this older R7 450, you can use this little card with the Core2Quad, and there you go. I mean, you can play GTA on it, so you don't really have to spend a lot of money on a video card. You know, this is bus powered, so you can use it on older OEM Core2Quads. You know, but don't forget, make sure the video card has DisplayPort. Make sure your monitor has DisplayPort, and don't be surprised if that you get a black screen with HDMI. So that's the only thing you know, I would warn you that yeah, if you're messing around with Radeon cards, make sure you got DisplayPort video cards and DisplayPort monitors. You know, because not every monitor has a DisplayPort. Some of them only has HDMI, which kind of sucks. So yeah, this particular Samsung monitor has both. It has both the HDMI input and the DisplayPort input. But like most of my TVs here, They don't have DisplayPort. I don't think any of them do. Yeah, so if you're messing around with TVs and you have HDMI only, then yeah, you know, I guess it's okay as long as it's an older HDMI TV. But if you just bought a brand new HDMI TV, then you might be kind of screwed. So keep that in mind. All right, let me check the watts really quick. Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. I'm seeing 163 watts on the AC watt meter for the power supply. So that's where it's stabilized. So it's definitely a little bit more than video cards. Whoa. But yeah, not bad for a bus power card. You know, the frames per second is pretty decent. The millisecond graph, it's a tiny bit worse than NVIDIA, but you know, it's not bad enough that, you know, I don't see any stuttering anyway, so it's just a number on the screen. So yes, it runs a little bit worse than NVIDIA, but it's all right, you know. You know, I mean, obviously, you know, when you're playing a video game, you don't have to have MSI Afterburner running, you know. But I still think you should, you can turn the display off, but at least make sure you have Afterburner running, because you need the fan curve so that the video card doesn't overheat. So, yeah, that's how I would suggest you do that. Is you know, turn off the display of the numbers, but make sure you have MSI running, the Afterburner running in the background, and just make sure you have that fan curve so that you're not overheating the video card, you know. Otherwise, it'll be over 80 degrees right now, you know. That's not fair, you know. I feel sorry for the video cards getting overheating for no unnecessarily, right? Yeah, and that's not only this card. Pretty much all the Radeon cards, I would put the fan curve on NVIDIA though. Most of the time they run pretty cool. They run a lot cooler, so you can usually get away with not worrying about the fan curve on NVIDIA. You know, but never assume. You know, use test it out, and make sure that it's in the 70s. You know. But yeah, definitely this video card, do not play any heavy games like this without turning that fan curve on. But yeah, this video card is pretty good though. Good enough, yeah, for $35, you know. But like I say, spend a little bit more money and get the RX 550, 4GB. It runs a little bit faster than this card. It consumes a little bit less watts. It runs a little bit cooler, you know. It's all around, you know, just newer technologies. Yeah. There's a bus-powered RX 550. There's also a bus-powered RX 460, and there's a bus-powered RX 560, you know, if you didn't know. So you can look at, you know, you can check out all those cards, and of course maybe some, you know, there's a bunch of other video cards, you know, if you can do your research, you know, if the price is right, right? Or maybe you know, you got the card for free or almost for free from a friend or a family member, or you know, at a thrift store or something like that, you know. Or you just got lucky on eBay, you know, nobody wanted the card, you know. Or nobody knows about the card. Not too many know. Not the R7 450 is not really popular. A lot of people don't know about this card. I don't think it was sold at the retail stores. It came in only OEM computers like Dell, HP, and Lenovo. So it's not like you were able to buy this video card at Micro Center or Best Buy or anything like that. So it's kind of weird, right? Whereas RX 550, you could buy a retail version of that. Okay, so I think I've done enough on this test. So you can see the memory, we're at 2,900 on the VRAM. Temperature wise, we're in the low 70s, so you know it's acceptable. Those temperatures are acceptable. GPU usage, you know, it's still not at 99%, but you know that's normal. We're using a little Core2Quad, right? And DDR2 running at 800. System RAM on the motherboard, we're only using 6 out of 8. So yeah, make sure your motherboard has 8 gigs of RAM at least. Well, on 775 you can't really get more than 8. Usually you can only get 8 gigs. If you're lucky, you can only install 8 gigs of system RAM on a Core2Quad anyway. Yeah, yeah. Make sure it's a Core2Quad. Don't bother if you're stuck on Core2 Duo. I wouldn't bother until you can upgrade the CPU to at least the Q9600. Get one of those cute little Core2Quad chips. I think they're only like $10 even or less. But make sure the motherboard supports it, because not just any 775 board supports Core2Quad. If you didn't know. Whoa. Okay, so I think that's it for this test. Let's see. I got two more Radeon cards we can test really quick that are slower than this one, and then that's it. We'll wrap it up, and then maybe I'll do a separate video on showcasing the video cards really quick, and then we'll move on to the next computer. Okay, bye.